At 7:53 p.m., the ground in Turkey's Balıkesir province was suddenly shaken by a violent tremor that took everyone by surprise. The 6.1 magnitude earthquake disrupted the routine of thousands of people, transforming a calm Sunday into an episode of chaos and fear. The epicenter was located in Sındırgı, a district that went from normalcy to emergency in a matter of seconds. The energy released at that moment quickly spread beyond the provincial borders. About 200 kilometers away in Istanbul, buildings vibrated and hanging lights swayed forcefully, alerting millions of residents. In Izmir, another major city in western Turkey, walls shook, objects fell to the ground, and people rushed into the streets. It didn't matter the size of the city or town. The earthquake's impact was widespread. Within seconds, thousands of people in different locations felt the same tremor, which left behind a haunting silence. In Sındırgı, at least 10 buildings collapsed under the force of the earthquake.
Şu an burada bir oyuk var. Evim hali bu şekilde. Tam temizlik yapıyordum.
The destruction left a desolate scene, with streets covered in debris and dust. In Galkuk, the fall of a minaret and the collapse of homes hit the community hard. In Manisa, 8 houses were severely damaged and 6 people were injured. Initial assessments confirmed that 1 person died and 4 others were injured at the epicenter of the disaster. Authorities quickly deployed rescue teams that moved rapidly to the hardest-hit areas. The hours that followed were critical. Amid the rubble of buildings, rescuers managed to pull 5 people alive, including an elderly woman. However, reports of trapped people kept coming in, necessitating the continuation of the active search. The danger didn't end with the initial quake. During the night and early morning, at least 41 aftershocks were recorded. The strongest reached a magnitude of 4.6, enough to worsen the cracks in weakened structures and reinforce warnings to stay away from any damaged buildings. Many decided not to return home. In squares, parks, and open fields, people improvised shelters with blankets and tents. Sleeping indoors became a risk they preferred to avoid. In some areas, the power supply was interrupted and communications became unstable. Technical teams worked to restore services, although safety inspections slowed down repairs. With the arrival of dawn, the extent of the disaster became clear. Streets were blocked by debris, vehicles were covered in dust, and fallen power poles were part of the landscape. In several areas, the asphalt showed deep cracks, forcing traffic to be cut off. In Galkuk, the fallen minaret became a symbol of the earthquake's impact. In Sındırgı, the main streets were partially inaccessible, and brigades used heavy machinery to reach the most critical points. Local authorities called for calm, but also for caution. Interior Minister Ali Yerlikaya reported that emergency teams from the AFAD agency were working not only in Balıkesir, but also in Istanbul and other provinces where the tremor was felt. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan addressed the nation, expressing support for the victims and assuring that all necessary resources would be allocated to response and recovery efforts. In the hardest-hit communities, citizen organization played a key role. Neighbors distributed water, food, and blankets to those who had lost their belongings or couldn't return home. Engineers and assessment teams warned that some of the damaged buildings couldn't be repaired and would need to be demolished to avoid further risks. The number of collapsed or severely damaged buildings was estimated to be around a dozen. Each aftershock kept both residents and rescuers on edge. Even the most experienced teams had to stop their work momentarily to ensure their safety. In hospitals, the injured were treated for fractures, cuts, and nervous breakdowns. While most were not in critical condition, the constant flow of patients put pressure on the healthcare system. In Istanbul, inspections continued, despite no significant structural damage being reported. Authorities wanted to make sure there were no hidden issues. In Izmir, evacuations during the tremor were quick and orderly. While there were no major collapses, the population remained alert for possible further movements. Live broadcasts from local media showed clear images of the magnitude of the event. Buildings collapsing, people fleeing, and streets covered in dust. The coverage included press conferences and constant updates from the authorities. The debris removal work was carried out with caution. Each block removed could open a gap leading to a possible victim or a space where someone might be waiting to be rescued. In rural areas, the problems were even more severe. Landslides blocked roads and hindered aid delivery, forcing the use of heavy machinery to clear the routes. Coordination between various levels of government and humanitarian organizations was crucial. In the first days after an earthquake, every hour counts to save lives and provide assistance. Displaced families were moved to temporary shelters set up in schools, community centers, and sports halls. In many cases, they shared space with neighbors and strangers, united by the same tragedy. The memory of previous earthquakes in Turkey fueled concern. The population knew that reconstruction would be a long process that would require both material resources and emotional support. Despite the fear, rescue efforts continued. Every volunteer and professional worked with determination to restore some security to those who had lost everything.
Yıkıldı.